For those of you that were not aware of it, this is a world premiere session on GetSetup. This is the first time we have done the Live or Retire Abroad Finances and Costs session. So thank you for joining me. And I hope you'll be kind and forgive me if there's a little, a few edges around it. But I've taught the subject before, just not in this format. And for those of you that were with me yesterday or any other Live or Retire Abroad sessions, thanks for coming again. I'm going to give people another minute. Now, while I have you and waiting for a few other people to join, I'll give them another minute or two. I'm just curious if you have any specific questions about finances, costs. I'm not a CPA, but I've dealt with a lot of these issues, and hopefully you'll learn a lot in some other websites that might help you and trigger some thinking. Anybody have anything specific that they're hoping to get answered today?
I do, but
yeah, Lenore.
I'm not sure if it's applicable. And I'm from Canada, by the way. I'm just curious, are most of these people from the United States, or are they from all over?
Raise your hand or put in chat if you're from Canada.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're the sole Canadian, but that's okay. A lot of Canadians in Central America, they seem to like to get out. And I used to work for a company that was headquartered in Edmonton, and they invited me to their Christmas party. And so I traveled from Los Angeles to Edmonton to join the company Christmas party in winter. So I've been in winter in Canada. So I know what you're experiencing right now. Where are you located, Lenore?
In Ottawa, the capital city. So right on the border of Quebec.
Okay.
Province of Quebec. Yeah.
Great. Is there a country you're thinking about going to overseas?
Yes, it's Kenya.
Kenya, really? Oh, yeah. Cool. All right.
I've been there 3 times and I have some contacts there. So I'm not exactly sure what I'll be doing. So that in itself is a bit of a challenge because there's a number of things that I need to clarify, finances as well as visa requirements and what I'm allowed to do with visas.
Okay.
Which particular visa that I have.
Right.
But about finances, I guess I'm just wondering, when you get settled in the country, I'd like to know about bank accounts. Like, obviously, I think we would, wherever we're going, we would need to set up a local bank account and maybe still have our own from the home country, because my pension would be coming from Canada and I think it has to go into a Canadian account. So it's kind of like where I go to get the help for that and whatever information you have.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's surprising how much you can do with international banking and money movement these days. So we'll talk about some tools for that and some resources that might be helpful, and how for U.S. citizens, it's Social Security and banking in the U.S. and banking overseas and getting local bank accounts and all those types of things as well. So very similar issues, And
I know there's conversion issues, because sometimes it costs money to convert from your own money in your account to the local currency, or in my case, to the U.S. or Kenyan shilling. So they deal also in U.S. dollars.
Right. There's currency exchange fees. Let's see. Susanna says she's looking for safe, warm, not hot. Okay. Just kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It has to be just right. Is that it? Okay. Yeah. Spanish speaking. You speak Spanish at all?
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, well, I better get started so we have time to go through things. Okay, so if you have a question, put it up in chat. If you're on a computer or laptop and you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, at the lower left, you'll see your microphone. And if you move over to the right, you'll see this button called Reactions. And that gives you, if you click on that, you can raise your hand. Like I just raised my hand. That helps me get my own attention here, but if you're trying to get my attention, that helps too. Periodically, I'll stop, very frequently to take questions as we go through material. And then we're going to look at some websites after we go through some slides. I'm going to show you the slides first, and then I'll show you the websites later, because sometimes I forget to go back and share the slides a little. And so that helps me keep organized. Okay. All right, so this is live or retire abroad, finances and costs. Okay, so it's all about the money side of living or retiring abroad, and a little bit of working, not too much, but a little bit, because sometimes we like to go back to work. I came back to work at GetSetup because I was teaching technology as a volunteer, and they said, gee, we'd like to have you come teach classes for us. GetSetup is an education and training organization. We don't sell anything, so if I mention any products or services or websites or things like that, it's only for the purpose of helping you understand more about the topic. We are recording the session, so you can request a recording. I know Miriam let me know that she had to leave early, so you can always request a recording if you have to miss or drop out or anything like that. You're going to receive an email after the session. I prepared some notes specifically for this on finance. I'll watch chat, and for those of you that don't know about Zoom etiquette, muting your mic is like turning your phone on to vibrate mode when you're in a live classroom. So that's the kind of the equivalent. It's up to you whether you want to be on video or not. Okay, it's just a personal preference. Some of us are dressed for Zoom, and some of us may not be, right? So it's up to you. It's your personal choice. Okay, so we're going to talk about banking, currency, budgeting, costs, retirement, pensions, taxes, work options, and visiting home. It's something that I found a lot of people don't really put into their factoring when they live abroad. So we're going to talk a little bit about the finances and costs of that. If you are not a person who likes to do budgeting, it helps to kind of get better at it and plan some expenses out, because that really is helpful for anticipating what you can expect, but also helping to anticipate what you might not expect. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay. All right. Well, let's get started on the tour here. Okay, banking. Banking has to do with exchange rates and fees. There is one country in the world, that uses the US dollar as their currency. So there is no exchange rate for dollars. Now, it doesn't help you necessarily if you're a Canadian citizen, but it makes it a little bit easier to benchmark things. That's Ecuador. Ecuador uses the US dollar as their local currency. If you go to Ecuador and you have dollar bills and 20s and whatever in your pocket, you pay in dollars for everything. And so there's no exchange rate at all in Ecuador, which is why Cuenca, which is a city in Ecuador that's in the mountains that speaks Spanish, for those of us that want Spanish speaking, right? And it's mild. In the mountains of Ecuador and Colombia are what they call coffee country. And places that grow coffee are really great to live because the temperature is moderate all year long. In Medellin and Cuenca, people tend to like Cuenca a little more than Quito, Ecuador, but you have to fly into Quito and then take about an hour flight to Cuenca connection. There's a big expat community in Cuenca. It's one of the most popular places to retire. Temperatures like 61 degrees every morning, 61 Fahrenheit, and it gets up to about 82. And then at evening, it goes back down to 61. And then every day of the year, because it's near the equator, and so equatorial climates tend to be very consistent. But because you're in the mountains, the temperature, the humidity that's really oppressive at the sea level, like in Panama City, you just can't do anything in the afternoon outside in Panama City, really, very much, except relax and in your lounge chair. So those are things that you might want to consider. So that's the dollar. That's one great country, and that's why it's very attractive, and it's one of the top destinations. There are things called currency exchange fees for moving money from dollars to euros and dollars to pesos and pesos back to dollars. So every time you move money, you will pay an exchange fee. There's only one way to get around it, and that's to find a bank or a financial institution that waives currency exchange fees. In the United States, the one I know that does it is Charles Schwab. If you have a Charles Schwab brokerage account, you can have a bank account with Charles Schwab, and your ATM card can be used, and you don't have to pay currency exchange fees. It's going to take about 3-4% of every time you have to move money back and forth. There's another service out there called PayPal. And PayPal has become an international financial organization. They have a service called Zoom with an X, and it's spelled XOOM. And it is a financial transfer service. Zoom lets you move money from a bank account in almost any country to a bank account in almost any other country. It lets you move money from Western Union and cash, offices. So a lot of our local mail centers that we have, and places like convenience stores, even CVS, there's a big business in moving money overseas to people that have good paying jobs in countries, to family members that don't have as much. And so that money transfer process is really, really common. And Zoom is XOOM is part of PayPal. So if you have a PayPal account, you can use your PayPal account with Zoom, and it's tied to your US bank. So it's really, really rare these days. You need to have a local bank account, but you might if you have to sign a lease. But even with that, if you can deposit the money and transfer the money right from your US or Canadian bank account directly to a bank account in Colombia or other things or other places like that. Or you can pay with an ATM card. A lot of them don't want to take ATM cards, but you can always do the money transfer. So moving the money around is not a real problem as much as you would think for it. So these services are great. Avoid using airport currency exchanges. They're more expensive than anybody else. But you're always going to end up with a little extra money in your pocket when you travel abroad with local currency that you've got. And so it's really a challenge. It's really best. The best practices these days are to use your US account. My son, who lives and works in Spain, because sometimes you will need, some countries require you to have a visa before you can open up a local bank account, because there are reporting requirements because of money laundering issues in moving money between US and foreign banks that they might question. So Zoom is one of the easiest solutions to work with, and your landlord or your other people. And ATM cash for day-to-day expenses, you can pull out a lot of money. If you can pull out $200 US a day in ATM, overseas, you have a lot of cash on hand. And a lot of the international ATMs will be sure to let your bank know that you are traveling overseas and what countries you're traveling to, so they know it's not a security breach. You can get some banks have operations that run in the US and in the country. So you can check and see if a bank has, like Citibank or Bank of America or others. Sometimes they have international offices, but they're not as necessary as you might think because of these currency exchange transfer services that are out. And Lenore says, yes, you can use Zoom to send money to Western Union. So what happens with these exchange services is that when you send money overseas and someone's going to pick it up, you have to identify who's going to pick it up. They have to have some form of identification, like a passport or they have to have some address. So if you're staying at a hotel or something, that you get a special security code for the money transfer. It's like a one-time ATM code, only it's a lot of numbers. And when you walk into Western Union, you present your passport, you give them the code for that transaction, and they give you the local currency. You can do that not only at Western Union, you can do that at local banks as well, and other places too. PayPal moves money from one bank to another because you set up your account with PayPal or Zoom, the PayPal service, and it will link to your bank account as well. And it basically withdraws money from your current bank account and puts money into whatever bank account you send it to. Okay, Zoom uses a bank account. Zoom lets you move money from a bank account to another bank account. Okay, and it works that way, but basically acts as an intermediary, a transfer service that you can use. They're really good. So you don't have to go through Western Union if you don't want to. You can go from one bank to another. So day to day, just make some ATM withdrawals, from your local ATM, wherever you're staying or traveling to. A lot of things take credit cards, and so check with a credit card company you have to make sure it doesn't use international transfer fees, currency exchange. Some do and some don't. Some of you, may have a bank account with a bank that will waive currency exchange fees if you have a certain balance with them, or you have direct deposit or other things like that. Credit unions are probably weaker on international money transfer and movement about that. So is in money in Canadian, I don't know. I would look at zoom.com, XOOM, and see what they do for Canadian currency. I mean, PayPal and Zoom are international, and so they're used to dealing with this a lot more than I am. And so in Kenya, they're using US and shillings both. Okay. So you have to get it from Canadian dollars to US dollars, and then you can use it in Kenya. But you might be able to transfer Canadian directly to Kenya, in whatever currency works best for you. So like I say, ATMs are global. They're one of the best things you can, because things are probably going to cost less depending on where you go, but they will probably cost less. And so you can find, I mean, when a bus ride costs 25 cents, you don't really need a lot of cash. And that's what my bus ride in Costa Rica cost me to get to language school every day. Any questions about that? Okay. All right. Oh, let me go back here. Living expenses. Okay. Living expenses.
One second.
Yeah,
Just
Regina.
an interruption. Just a short thing I'd like to say.
Yes, sir.
PayPal, one good thing about using what you just suggested about Zoom and PayPal is that if there is something that you are not, say like something shows up that a transaction or whatever, that you don't feel that you made, or something is wrong on some end or whatever, you can always go to PayPal and stop it.
Oh, that's good to know. Is that true of international transactions?
Yes, you can go online into your PayPal account and you can put a stop on anything.
That's great. That's good to know, Regina. That's good to know. I gather you use PayPal for some.
I've had PayPal for over 17 years. It is a very reputable company.
Yes, they are.
And I have not regretted it a day.
Yep. Yep. They're really convenient, and there's a lot of ways. And they bought Zoom, and they also bought another company called Venmo.
Well, I utilized them when I took my trip to Taipei.
Uh-huh.
And the currency that I used overseas, I had to have two different types of currency because I had a layover in Singapore and then a flight out from there to Taipei. And so I was there for a month. And I didn't have a problem with the banks there with exchanging my currency with the bank if I chose to. And before I left, I bought currency via PayPal.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. You had it in your PayPal account, right?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Excellent. Good to know. Good to
Yeah.
know some practical experience. And you're probably one of the longest PayPal users I know. Now, the difference between using PayPal and Zoom is PayPal's international currency exchange
Yeah.
service. Okay, so if you're moving money from one currency to a different currency, you would use Zoom. PayPal is for all your transactions. Then they will actually, Zoom will use your bank account you have on file with PayPal. But if you're just moving it from one currency to another or from one country to another, but PayPal can hold money for you in PayPal as well. It's just going to be in a local, whatever currency you hold it in. Okay. Money transfer, not as complicated as you think it might be. You have, these services like Zoom work great. You can keep a US bank account or your Canadian bank account. That's where your retirement, your pension, your anything is going to get deposited, and then you can just move it to wherever you need to. Okay, so living expenses, that's the part of what people think about, depending on where you live. I mean, I've seen people that spend $4,000 a month living overseas, but some people are looking to live more moderately and more economically. You may give up your local residence. You may want to keep it as a place to come back to. Okay, but you're looking at about $1,500 a month for a couple on most places that end up on the live, work, retire abroad lists. Housing, food, and some moderate dining, your utilities, phone, and internet, these are going to be cheaper. Your medical care is going to be less expensive, but if you maintain two insurances, it might be. Local transportation is going to be really inexpensive rather, and it's better if you don't have a car. It really works better not to have a car. And then incidentals. Now, keep in mind that if you have a certain taste for certain wines, that will bump your cost up. If you eat at places that cater to tourists, if you learn to eat, food in local restaurants and shop in local markets and other places like that, you're going to find a lot of things are much less expensive. And housing usually is one of the factors that comes into play too. So this is a budget from Ecuador. I shared this yesterday in my Live, Work, Retire, or Live or Retire, Is It Right For You class. And you can see a lot of these expenses like electricity, gas, bus, phone, satellite are going to be a lot lower, and housing costs are a lot lower too. Now, admittedly, if you want to live in the most deluxe area of town where all the wealthy people live, you're going to pay more. But this is a very good upper middle class, safe area of a place in Ecuador. And so, you've got a budget you can work with, and then a one bedroom, one bath place is going to be less expensive as well. I was paying $850 a month for a place in Sitges, Spain, which is outside of Barcelona by about an hour train ride. And the trains, I could walk to the train station. I could walk to the 3 different grocery stores. They did Amazon delivery. And oddly, in that part of Spain, Spanish is not the official language. Catalan is. But you'll find that a lot of people speak English because it is such a popular tourist location as well. People that come there thinking, I'm going to move to Barcelona and my kids are going to learn Spanish, for corporate transfers, discover that there aren't a lot of Spanish language schools there. They're a mix of Catalan and Spanish. So this is what the target for a lot of people is for a lot of places around the world. And realtors are used to, you don't have to have a long-term lease. There's a lot of Airbnb activity all over the world, and Vrbo is another one that's coming up. But if you go to a realtor in the local city you're thinking about visiting, and talk to them and stop by and visit, they'll show you places. They'll get you in better places than what you might go through on a tourist site or a website. So, but international rentals are becoming much more popular all the time. They'll come back again after we get to travel again. Okay, so I mentioned Tangerine Travels yesterday. If we have time, I'll show you a little video from them today. But Tangerine Travels is a YouTube channel of a young couple that does a little series of making, of what it takes to live in Mexico. They do travel a little bit around the world, but most of it is Mexico, and their costs are very comparable. They found that their utility costs, they thought they were going to be paying more for electricity, but it ended up being about $25 a month with air conditioning. A lot of times, because you're living in an area where the climate is moderate all year long, when you wake up and it's like, 62 degrees, you really don't need a whole lot of heat, or anything. People just don't have heating and air conditioning in a lot of these areas like we have in some of our climates. So it's a nice little website to go visit. I recommend you do that. What I wanted to show you today were some things a little bit more from a couple of other websites, Expatistan, which I mentioned yesterday, and another one called Numbeo. These are websites that are used by corporate planners that want to plan what it's going to take from an expense standpoint to put somebody in another country, relocate somebody. So corporations have done a lot of this work for us. They figured things out. And Expatistan and Numbeo come up with things like indexes that show you different rates and different costs of different things that are around. And so I want to take you to visit a few of these. Okay, so I'm going to change my screen share. I'll stop for a second, see if there's any questions. We're going to find out what some very specific things cost for some of these places around the world. Okay. And let me pull up my cost of living. So Expatistan, and this is going to be in the email you got from me. Expatistan has a world map cost of living. And you can see we have a lot of red and orange and yellow in our areas of in the United States and Canada, North America, Europe, Northern Europe. You can see Portugal, Spain. If you scroll over some of these buttons, they'll give you a cost of living index number. And the cheapest is green, the most expensive is red. Okay, so it gives you a starting point. This is just their map. Okay, so they give you numbers as well. Geneva, Hamilton, Bermuda kind of surprised me, but I guess, it's a exclusive area to live. And they come up with this thing called a price index, which includes all types of price factors. And you can see some places like London, New York, San Francisco, Oslo, Norway, Washington, D.C. We've got numbers in the 200s. Okay, so if you wanted to cut your cost of living by half, you'd scroll down the list and find other places. Awilda, you have your hand up.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing any of your charts.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
The
You're
screen
not
is
seeing
just
my
black.
web page? You're not seeing my web page?
No. Oh, now I see it.
Okay,
Okay.
it must be, you see the map?
Yes.
Okay, so it just must have been a little bit lag on the internet there. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here. We're going to try and find a city that is someplace that we might want to think about. Maybe it's something like Lisbon, Portugal. Let's see if we can find something in a country we might want to go to. San Jose, Costa Rica. Okay, it's a popular destination. Very safe country, very friendly towards other people. It's coming up on the list. And here's Quito. And so you can get an idea. Costa Rica, San Jose, Costa Rica is 96. Quito, Ecuador is 90. Let's take a look at Quito. Okay, let's see what they have. So if I click on here, they will have their local currency is in dollars already. They'll say, what's a basic lunchtime menu, including a drink in the business district? Well, I mean, I ate at a food cart in the business district and I got a hamburger for $1.50 with a Coke, so it's just a matter of looking around a little bit. A combo meal, a Big Mac, about $7. A liter of milk, under $1. Housing, okay, a 900 square foot furnished accommodation in an expensive area, $769. Okay, a normal area is really where you can save a lot of money. You're going to find less business workers and international employees in here, but you're going to find also a lot of expats. And when you go someplace, I recommend you go to a hotel first, talk to the concierge desk, do a little research online about where the expat communities are. But the hotel people always were able to tell me where the local expat restaurants and bars were. And I found lots of bulletin board postings and things like that. Utilities, heating, electricity, gas for one person, $34 a month. I don't know what your electric bill's running these days and what your heating bill's running, but when you're in a warmer climate, your things are not expensive. Now, internet, $25 a month. Okay, so you find some of these things are a lot less. Hourly rate for cleaning help, $12 an hour. Okay, and you can find somebody. My daughter-in-law hired a live-in nanny in Barcelona for 300 euros a month. Hi, John. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. I just wondered if someone was going to rent a vacation rental, like a fully furnished place for a month overseas, would you recommend just Airbnb or Vrbo or some other means to do that?
For probably 30 days or less, you can usually negotiate a rate with them if and get something better than what they even post. And so if you're just going to someplace for the first time, you don't know your neighborhood, right? I mean, knowing your neighborhood is really valuable. And so going someplace where you can stay, where you have some host services available is helpful because then you can explore the neighborhoods a little bit and you'll learn a little bit about the neighborhoods around where you're going to live. And you may find that one neighborhood is easier for you to walk to the market and get public transportation than a different neighborhood, or and you'll get more comfortable taking Uber and Lyft around, and you'll see what's convenient, because you don't really know when you land someplace and you end up there what's nearby you and what do you want to find out. I found most places you don't have to really worry about a washer or dryer or a laundromat, because in every place in the world I've been to, there's some laundry service nearby that's really inexpensive. And you just take your stuff there and it's by the pound. And that's how you take care of it. Yeah, for depending, if once you get more comfortable going someplace and you learn about the neighborhoods, you might want to find out, what you might want to check with local realtors. And then you may find, hey, I can get a better deal, through this, because you can find short-term 30-day, 90-day, 6-month rentals all over the world. Personal care. Now, remember, pharmacy things are going to be a lot less expensive. A haircut, standard men's haircut in the expat area of the city, $10. Okay, that means that they're catering to typically English speakers. Hair shampoo, cold medicine. So Expatistan gives you a lot of 1-month gym membership in the business district, 57. I found them a little bit less. Things like televisions and other stuff is the equipment's part. And they have a lot of volunteers that provide data, and they'll give you different cost of living comparisons as well. So a beer, $2.19, which is kind of pricey. You can get them for less. But if you're in a pub where they speak English, that's typically what you're going to find. And some countries like Panama give you a foreign retiree discount. You get 20% off airlines, transportation, other things as well. Let me scroll up. And let's take a look at Numbeo. Numbeo is great as well. Okay, so I wanted to compare cost of living. We looked at Quito. Let's look at Barcelona. And they tell you, okay, if you would need about $6,300 if you were living in Los Angeles, you can live on roughly half that and have the same standard of living in Barcelona. That's a lot of money, but you don't have to spend that much. Consumer prices for rent are lower if you get a little bit more outlying areas. Restaurants are lower, groceries are lower. Your local purchasing power is better. So you can see some of these different prices, and they change it from euros to dollars for you. You can change the currency if you want to Canadian currency. Expensive meals. I mean, meals are expensive. And I found McDonald's really doesn't vary a lot in price all over the world, but you can find, local transportation, a monthly pass for public transportation, a taxi to go for an hour, for a mile is about $3 roughly. So Uber's less, but in Spain, they don't have a lot of Uber. They're trying to keep it out. But a lot of your utilities are going to be less expensive. You can find a fitness center everywhere in the world. I have never found a problem finding a fitness center. Now, admittedly, they're not safe right now, but you can find them. And I found English language movie theaters all over the world. Of course, if you get out to more remote areas, you might not find as much. But I mean, there's change like Zara and H&M and all over, but you can also go to the local street markets as you learn a bit of the language and negotiate. Remember, when you go overseas, everything's negotiable. Okay, everything's negotiable here in the US and Canada as well. It's just that most people don't ask. But there's a website, Consumer Reports, that said that 50% of the time when people ask for a discount, they get it. There's some coupon. I went in to get my brakes on my car at a Midas dealer, and I just said, hey, is there a discount? Oh, we have a coupon we can apply to you and give you a $25 discount, right? Hey, you never know, right? So a one-bedroom apartment in the city center, half the price of Los Angeles. You'll find that rents are really a great thing to do. And so they give you things like quality of life, crime, healthcare, pollution, etc., traffic, different places. So if you want to see moving to Barcelona, explore the quality of life, they give you some information here. This is a little less biased and rose-colored than some of the websites like International Living. So you're going to get a link to Numbeo and a link to Expatistan, here as well. So they give you information about that. So if you want to, you can go over to Valencia, and see what Valencia is like. Valencia is a nice place to live. And so very safe, very good healthcare, wonderful climate. You're a little further south than Barcelona, so you get a little bit warmer, weather there. And so there's a lot of choices. So Numbeo and Expatistan are two great resources for getting a lot of detail and ideas. But the cost, a lot of the research that you're going to get from International Living or Live and Invest Overseas are going to be there. Sure, let me put them on chat, and they're going to be in your email. So one is called numbeo.com, make sure I spell it, and one is called expatistan.com. Okay, we'll do. They're in chat, so they'll be saved for you in chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. Okay, a lot of research you can do. I mean, so, and we've got the time now, right? You know, and also join, look at, I mentioned in the other classes, look at Facebook and see if you can find a Facebook group of expats in the city you're thinking about moving to. It'll be really helpful for you. Okay, any other questions? These are great websites to do a lot of research on. You can find out, if you can find out what the cost is of a banana. So interestingly enough, I got asked in almost everywhere I went and I took language schools, people would ask me what a banana costs. That was like one of their benchmark comparisons, you know. Janice, you've got your hand up. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, good. What can I help you with?
Right. So how about healthcare or health insurance as an American if you take residence in another country, either permanently or, for a few months out of the year? Do you qualify for many of their nationalized healthcare programs?
No, usually not. You have to be a resident usually for 3, 4, or 5 years to qualify for their national programs. However, I'm going to put it in chat here. There's a couple of companies like Aetna, Cigna, and Geo Blue. First of all, check with your own health insurance, and call the number on the back of the card and see what they will do for you when you're overseas, okay? Then you can look at some others, and I'll add these to the chat, to the email, so you have the links in the email as well. But Cigna, Aetna, and Geo Blue are all companies that offer local health insurance for expats living in a foreign country, because corporations have to buy it for their employees. And so they offer these services for individuals. I went to Cigna Global. I got a quote for somebody in their late 60s for what it would take to pay for insurance in Costa Rica. And they gave me a quote of $350 a month for all-inclusive medical insurance. And that, now Medicare stops at the border. Canadian healthcare stops at the border as well, but you might have a supplemental policy. Okay, and so
Thank you.
Lenore is saying for Kenya would cost $500 a year. Oh, I thought you said $500 a month at first. You scared me. $500 a year for private insurance in Kenya. Okay, but because medical costs are a lot less expensive overseas. So check with your current insurance provider, see what they'll cover you and for how long they'll cover you while you travel to explore a place. And then when you know you're ready to move and get rid of your place. And one question is whether you're going to get rid of your place in the US or not, right? Or Canada, and whether you're going to say, I'm going to burn the boat. And this is my move, right? You know, if you burn the boat crossing overseas. So let's go back to some of the slides here. This is, I need to put visits to the US and Canada in today. Coming back from where you are living abroad is an expense that may or may not be manageable for you. It depends. So if you decide, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to go live in Spain, or I'm going to live in Ecuador, I'm going to save all this money, and then you come back to the United States, where are you going to stay? Do you need to have a car to drive around and do errands and take care of business wherever you stay? You've got, how are you going to eat? You know, so you've got airfare, but in addition to that airfare, you've got lodging, auto, and food that you've got to take care of, because now you're a tourist in the United States. Okay, so if you can afford to keep your place and live abroad, you basically have 2 homes. Okay, So, but you're paying some expenses or things like that. I knew a couple that was going to sail around the world. This was about 4 years ago. They were going to sail around the world, and they rented out their house, for a year. And so they bought their sailboat. They learned to sail. They had, one of them had been a very good seaman before, that. And so they said, we're just going out, So people that have, if you haven't watched the movie on, I think it's Amazon, maybe it's Netflix, called Nomadland with Frances McDormand. It's about people that really are in tough economic situations, but they're basically living a nomadic life and taking odd jobs as they travel around. But budget for these things, budget for how often you might have to come back to the US. And emergency trips. If you have to come back in an emergency, a family member is ill, you've got to take care of something, that emergency trip, you won't be able to manage your airfare prices very effectively. So just budget for that, because that's one of the bigger expenses. Now, I know a friend of mine who owns a bed and breakfast in Maine. He travels from Maine to Thailand every year during the winter to get out of the winter. So he closes up his bed and breakfast where he lives and shuts it down and has people locally watch it for him. And he goes to Thailand and lives in Thailand for about 5 months. And now in Thailand, you don't need a visa. You can live on your passport, because if you go from Thailand outside of Thailand to another country, and then you come back in, you renew yourself as a tourist automatically. Some countries in the world don't let you do that, but others do. But like countries like Ecuador and Costa Rica and Spain, they have really good visa programs for longer term stays. Okay, so just think about some budget worksheets. Think about what your income's going to be if you're going to work. What your expenses, going to be, what you might do. Now, you might want to plan on, if you're living in, say, Ecuador, and you want to go to Peru, and you want to go to Argentina, and you want to go to Colombia, plan that tourist activity into your budget as well, because you may just say, I'm just going to set up a house and, someplace and not really travel too much. But so think of it, if you're in Spain too, or Italy, or wherever you might want to live, just plan on those types of things to give you an idea. And then just figure out your budget and what you've got for income. And, but budgeting is going to be a good thing to help you out. Now, income, simple formula in the US, I don't know about Canada, but it is likely to be the same. US income equals US taxes. Okay, so it means if you're getting Social Security, or if you're getting pensions, or if you have investment income, or you're doing what I call digital nomad work, if you work for an American company and they pay you and they deposit money into your US account, you're going to pay taxes on a 1099 or whatever. The requirement to be a foreign resident requires that you really spend less than about 20 days in the United States if you're trying to qualify to exclude your foreign income from US taxes. But if, let's say you got a job, my son who runs a business in Spain, he's paid in euros, but he can only come to the US basically for visits. He can't really, and he gets excluded from having to pay US taxes. He pays taxes in Spain, as well, so that you'll pay taxes somewhere. A lot of taxes in other countries are value added taxes and things, so that they have different taxation systems and different fees. In Switzerland, if you want to become a resident in Switzerland, you have to pay an ecclesiastical tax to support the church. So just be aware these things are going to come up. Okay, living and working and retiring. Okay, if you're a digital nomad, I have a friend that does not have an apartment or a house in the US anymore. He's living with his brother and his son. But he's got a 6-figure income. He works in the satellite industry, and he is a true digital nomad. I know some other people that are like graphic designers. One of the employees for GetSetup is based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She can do digital work remotely, graphic design, website, those tend to be those types of things. Some people decide to move abroad and open up a business. They open up a bed and breakfast. A friend that I made in Colombia, he was working as a school teacher in Texas. He retired early after about 20 years with the school system. He had married a woman from Venezuela, and they settled in Medellin. And he started running a bicycle tour business. Other people set up Airbnbs because they know how to set up the communicate with Americans. You can work for local expats, get contract assignments, and there's this thing called work and trade. And then if any US income you have coming in just gets deposited to your US or Canadian bank account, and you can move it overseas. So these are some options. Some people decide to get a job teaching English as a foreign language. There's no foreign language skill requirement for this. You have to have been born in a country where English is the native language. So Australia, Canada, UK, New Zealand, United States, etc. You don't need a college degree. It makes it a little bit easier, but it's a standard 4-week training program called for teaching English as a foreign language. And then you get assigned. You might get assigned to, you could choose your assignments. Some of them are elementary schools, some of them are high schools. And when students come into the classroom, you do everything in English. And they have some programs to help you understand how to deal with it. They're expecting they will not speak their native language when they walk into that classroom. And the schools typically give you room and board and a small stipend to cover your expenses. And you might have you'll have a work schedule based on the school as well. There's work and trade. And I'll show you a website for that that has some opportunities for volunteering in exchange for room and board. Some very interesting ideas. And some places and some people are willing to hire somebody to be a private tutor. And that's an option as well. And then there's still the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps does not have an age limit. And so they still have assignments. They pay you in dollars. They provide your health care and all the services like that. So 2 sites that are out there are Flex Jobs and Help Stay. So let me show you them and see what we can look at there. So Flex Jobs is flexjobs.com. Okay, so Flex Jobs, and these will be in your links as well. Okay, and Lenore has a question for visas and volunteer. Okay, visa info. You have to go to the country's website and look at their visa requirements. So if you're thinking about going to a specific country, you'd go there. Now, if you're getting a job or a volunteer organization is helping to get you overseas, they often will help you with the visa application as well. Okay, so Flex Jobs is a good way to get a job that you can do remotely from anywhere in the world, and then take it wherever you go to. Keep in mind that sometimes there might be hour requirements. Even U-Haul, I learned that U-Haul has a flexible job program for people to book appointments and reservations, and they pay people for working out of their homes. Another one is a website called Help Stay. And again, they'll be in the link. Help Stay has volunteer stay opportunities. And they're kind of creative, okay? So this is where you can find nonprofits and all over the world. So animals and environment, hostels oftentimes hire people. They'll give you free room in exchange for working the front desk, okay? But you can help, even in the US, there's construction and farming projects. Milan, experience Milan while helping with everyday stuff in our hostel. Okay. Experience a work stay in Limerick, Ireland. This is kind of a broker site that they have people that post opportunities, and they have a free book, you know, but they say popular places. You can become a host or you can become a helper. Okay, and so helping, you know, so sometimes you participate in an academy. I've seen people that live in smaller towns in like France. They say, we can't give you a car, but we'll help you drive into town once a week, but we can give you a bicycle and it's just a short bike ride. But if we want our teenage children to learn English, and we want somebody to live with us for 3 months so that they can help and you'll be participating in all the family activities, you know, and helping, you know, that, and they basically just want you to do that. So here's Harry, you know, teaching conversation. So lots of opportunities and places and other things. And it's, you can look at all stays. So if you're looking at teaching, or you want to work in a farm, or you want to, you know, some construction work, or you're willing to do that, or you just want to volunteer, you can see what each of these are. And I've had, you know, people that they've basically paid for their way, you know, around the world by doing this. And so lots of different places. You'd be surprised what's out there that you can do. Create an eco resort in North Colombia. That would be interesting. Okay. It just depends on what you're interested in doing out there. And again, some of these volunteer organizations will help you with their activity. And then of course, there's the Peace Corps. It's 2-year commitment. So keep that in mind. But you can apply to the Peace Corps. And right now during COVID, they're obviously not taking on a lot of people, but they're working on that some more. So these are just some resources because when you live somewhere, what are you going to do with all your free time, right? You're going to have all day. You wake up in the morning and you don't have any place you have to be. You know, you can go after you explore the local city and you take a few trips and things like that. You know, you have to think about what are you going to do with your time and kind of get an idea about that. Let me change one more slide here and take some questions. Okay, great. We're kind of coming at the end. We're gonna chat a little bit here for a few minutes. I want you to make sure that you're going to get an email follow-up. The notes will be saved in your Zoom folder. You can request a copy of the recording, and thank you for joining my world premiere of this class, you know, for those of you here for the first time. And the questions really help me understand a little bit about what types of things people might be looking for too. So any questions? Did we cover a lot of good things for you today?
You covered a multitude of things. I just want to say, Bob, when you do decide where you want to go, where you want to retire to and stay,
yeah,
because I have about 2 places so far. Okay, now when you do make that decision, make the time. It's not something you're going to be able to do overnight. This is going to take you some time, everything from your finances, from your currency to your health. You would be surprised at the countries that are now wanting nothing but seniors.
yes. I mean,
senior citizens, that's who they want.
Well, hey, well, there's a caveat. They want senior citizens that have some retirement money coming in.
Well, you know, when this is another thing, you make sure when you do leave here that you're going or you're taking a job with you. You've got a lot. If you can get onto Zoom, you can work online.
Yes.
You can do a lot of things online. So I mean, the world is in your hands again.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
okay.
the internet
world is your basket again.
It is the internet. Internet has made life. Internet.
Yes.
My son runs a business he lives in Barcelona with his wife and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter, because they haven't they like Barcelona, and they have their business is headquartered in Malta, and their staff pretty much works out of Krakow, Poland, and other remote locations. So
Krakow.
yeah, Krakow's part of the European Union, and it's
Yeah.
a very highly skilled technology workforce.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's great.
I took the class, Bob, on what was it?
Is it
This
right?
guy had a class, I forgot his name. It's on passive income.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's here on GetSetup.
Yeah.
And he's got a wealth of jobs that you can do and have. He said he has five jobs that he does online just for passive income, just for making extra income.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things you can do. And I found once you stay in a local area and they get to know you, like people at coffee shops, in 3 days, they know you're a regular.
yeah.
So people in little stores, because they know if you're a tourist, they're just going to see you once and never again. But if they start to see your face over and over again, they get to know you pretty well. And lots of times you find interesting little opportunities that come up because
You do.
yeah.
But Bob, I tell you that hostel part, the one like trade. So you stay at the hostel, you speak English. They want you at their front desk.
That's right. Because
because they've got English clients coming in that want to register, and they would like for you to do that for them for your room and board.
I stayed at someone's home in Costa Rica because the language school arranged it. But about half the staff, the interns at the language school were Canadian, citizens that had moved down to Costa Rica and found jobs because they spoke English. They were able to deal with the Americans and the Canadians and help promote and market the school and do that marketing work for them. So they were getting about $1,000 a month, but about 4 of them lived in a big house, and their rent was split. It was about $200. Yeah.
Right. Does anyone here plan to go to Asia? Anyone planning Tokyo, Korea?
I've been to Thailand. Thailand is one of my spots. If it wasn't so long an airline trip, but
15 hours.
I really love Thailand. And Thailand has a very international flavor. I met people from Denmark, Japan, France, because it's a very international flavor of living abroad. Yeah, I know that we're running out of time, but I would, if you're interested in seeing a group, some ambassadors are being recruited to start special interest groups, and something you think you'd like to start on living or retiring abroad or help out with, put something in the comments. We do read them all. I read them all because I learn from what comments people make as well. And I want to thank you all for coming today. We were actually live on Facebook as well. I don't know how many people might have joined us that way, but for those of you that did join us on Facebook, we were glad to have you. And there'll be a lot of other information available to you. If you haven't taken the Live or Retire Abroad, Is It Right for You? We cover like a smattering of all the issues there. And that might be a good one if you haven't taken that. I know some of you have, and it's good to see you again. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now. And
goodbye, ladies.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.